When my wife issued her ultimatum, she believed it would bend me to her will. She stood in the living room, arms folded, voice sharp and full of certainty, saying, "Either you choose this marriage and let go of your obsession with work, or I'm leaving." Her words hung in the air, heavy, and for a moment, I just stared at her. I realized then that this wasn't truly about my career. It was about control, about testing my limits to see how far I would go to prove my love. I had always been patient with her temper, always the one to compromise to keep the peace. But that day, something inside me shifted. I saw clearly how much of myself I had given away, how much I had lost trying to satisfy someone who treated love as leverage instead of partnership. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I simply said, calm and steady, "If leaving is your choice, I won't stop you." The silence that followed was heavy, almost tangible. Her face faltered. She wasn't expecting me to hold my ground. For years, she had wielded emotion as a weapon, knowing I hated conflict and would do anything to maintain our home. But this time, I refused to sacrifice my integrity for temporary peace. She packed a bag, assuming I would chase her as I always had. But I didn't move. I stayed still, letting her walk out, and the weight of that choice settled deep in my chest. Days bled into weeks. For a while, the house felt empty, silent in a way that made me question myself. Yet with each passing day, that silence turned into clarity. I slept better, thought more clearly, reconnected with old friends, and rediscovered hobbies I had long abandoned. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Then, one evening, she appeared unannounced. The confident, commanding demeanor she once carried was gone. She looked nervous, eyes scanning the house like it was unfamiliar. "I didn't think you'd actually let me go," she said, her voice trembling. I met her gaze calmly and replied, "You asked me to choose, and I did. I chose peace." Tears streamed down her face as she insisted I had misunderstood, that all she wanted was to feel prioritized. But her words could not erase months of manipulation. I had begged her for partnership, not power plays. I had pleaded for communication, not ultimatums. She had chosen control over connection, and now, too late, she saw that love built on demands collapses under its own weight. She tried to move back in, claiming she had nowhere else to go. But by then, I had made my decision. "You can't keep returning whenever you regret your choices," I said firmly, and the finality in my tone made her flinch. I had quietly filed for separation, not out of anger, but out of necessity, to reclaim the pieces of myself I had buried under years of compromise. The same people who once called me cold for letting her go eventually saw the change in me. They noticed the calm in my voice, the steadiness in my posture, the peace I carried that no one could take away. I learned that ultimatums are never about solutions, they're about control. Real love doesn't force someone to choose between their identity and their relationship. It grows from mutual respect, honest conversation, and shared growth. My wife's ultimatum backfired, not because I wanted her gone, but because I finally realized I deserved a marriage founded on equality, not threats. When I closed that chapter of my life, it wasn't with bitterness or anger. It was with acceptance. I had given her every opportunity to meet me halfway, but when she drew a line meant to trap me, I chose to step over it and walk forward, free, calm, and finally whole.